2 months later, on the north coast of the ancestral continent. All right, you can land here. Finally, after several hours of flying, Jabba raised his head, then looked behind him and shouted loudly after he seemed to spot something. While more than 3,000 Dracos were busy finding suitable landing spots below them, Jabba jumped off his Draco and began walking slowly towards someone sitting on the edge of a high cliff. When he got close enough, he took a long inhale and spoke. "Master, I did as you asked, and Robin, you damn bastard." A shout that came from behind Jabba interrupted the report that he was preparing in his head all the way here. In a flash, Billy passed by Jabba like an arrow that had just slipped out of its bow, and extended his arm out, obviously planning to grab Robin's collar. But when he came right beside him and saw his facial expression, his hand was automatically lowered again to his side. However, that didn't stop him from completing his sentence. "Did you really order these things? Do you realize what you have done?" "What did you exactly?" Robin replied coldly, still looking toward the ocean in front of him. "Father." Hee. A happy voice suddenly interrupted everyone. Then a girl ran towards Robin and hugged him from behind. Robin grabbed the girl's hand wrapped around his neck, kissed it, and spoke with a smile. "Zara, are you and your brothers okay? Have you rested properly for the past 2 months?" "Yeah, we all missed you. Why did you order for only the Life Legion to come?" "Both my brothers wanted to come too." "You made them sad?" she asked, some annoyance on her face for her brothers. But before Robin could say anything, Billy stepped in. "Zara, I have something to talk to with your father. Go stand with your friends for now." "Humph. What a fun killer you are." Zara looked at Billy in annoyance, then kissed Robin on the cheek and left to stand with her group. There were 3 groups of people coming on the backs of the Draco fleet, thousands of people standing together with hammers and bags, a small group of humans wearing green armors with Zara standing in the middle, and a smaller group of demons whose auras overwhelmed the whole place. Billy looked back at Robin for about 2 seconds, not knowing where to start, and then finally spoke. Is it true that you ordered the killing of everyone above the 10th level in the entire continent? Is it true that you exterminated all the descendants of the Everin family?" "That's right," Robin replied and continued. "By the way, were the instructions followed?" Jabba knew that the question was directed at him and replied, "Yes. After dividing the demons into smaller battalions, it took less time than expected until all the major cities on the continent were already searched and everyone above the knighthood was killed. We found small scattering groups of Flame Empire saints and sages, and even some youth that looked like they came for sightseeing. They are all dead. As for the Everin family, none of them are left alive. None was left with an intact corpse. Currently, Amon is supervising the summoning of more demons at the Warrior Knight realm and distributing them over the entire continent to hunt and kill those who managed to escape from the cities before our troops arrived." "What about the 3 kings?" Robin asked. "The kings of the kingdoms of Doliver, Lying Water, and Oclea were captured and heavily tortured in the public squares within their kingdoms for a month with the help of members of the Life Legion before they were given the permission to die at last," Jabba spoke. "Good. You can distribute the boys and start work now." Robin nodded. "Yes," Jabba replied, and then looked back and pointed toward the shore below the cliff on which Robin was sitting and shouted, "Come on, we'll set up the port here. Come on, move." Approximately 4,000 people from the lower races of Nahari rushed toward the shore with heavy equipment on their backs, and when the first of them reached the shore, who seemed to be their chief, stretched out his hands forward, and suddenly tons of pre-prepared metal plates appeared before him. The rest of the group starting to take these plates and move them to different locations. Robin looked at that person from above and spoke, "How long will you take?" In response to the sect head, the establishment of the port's tongues, and the manufacture of the required number of ships of the size and methods devised by Your Excellency with our current numbers, I think it will take about 4 months before handing them over to the Rune Masters. The chief blacksmith bowed and spoke. Then another person came and bowed his side. "Drawing the runes Your Excellency gave us will take longer, but we will try to draw them on the plates while the blacksmiths work. However, we will still need 2 more months after they are finished. We can deliver the ships ready to Your Excellency after 6 months from today." Robin nodded at them and spoke. "I need these ships to reach their destination on time without delay. I hope you understand that. Come, sect head. The two of them bowed deeply and then went back to their work. How long are you going to keep ignoring me? Billy yelled suddenly. What do you want next, Billy? I have already answered your questions. Robin replied coldly. Why are you talking like you gave the orders to exterminate rats? You ordered the genocide of all the experts and fighters of the continent. You set the continent back tens of thousands of years. Billy yelled at the top of his lungs. Since he found out about the orders Robin gave the demons, he has almost gone crazy. During the siege of Jura City, didn't the Seven Kingdoms declare a royal war? A royal war means that they moved the entire armies of all the noble families in their lands. This means that all the knights and saints whom I gave the order to kill did participate in the siege of Jura. As for the other noble families in the Black Sun Kingdom, they did not help us when we needed them, and therefore it is treason in my book. Especially the Altons, as we have a mutual defense treaty with them and they ignored it. As for the Evern family, I don't think I need to talk to them. Tell me, Billy, did I say something wrong? Talk, Robin. It's true, but things don't work that way. Billy shouted again. All these people did not come of their own accord, but were forced by the royal summons. Second, those responsible must be held accountable. I agree with that. Not to order King random genocide against the whole continent. Genocide? I wish I had the guts to start a real genocide. But it turns out I still haven't fully escaped my weakness yet. It turns out that I'm too coward to issue that order. A half smile appeared on Robin's face. And he finally looked at Billy. The whole continent should be thankful that I contented myself with killing the strong ones among the noble families and letting their offspring live under my sky. The whole continent should be happy that I didn't treat them the same way they treated Jura. Billy looked at Robin for a few seconds with knotted eyebrows and questioning eyes. This anger and sadness in Robin's voice. His actions did not seem that it was only about Jura City being invaded and losing some land. It is not like he loved his family in the first place. He basically spent most of his life in a cave, and the rest in seclusion after seclusion. Billy looked at Jabba. His look seemed that he was begging him to him what was going on. But Jabba looked at the workers on the beach as if he didn't notice anything. Again, this is not the first time Billy has tried to ask one of Robin's new followers about the reason for his anger and the source of his decisions, which have gone so far beyond the world of politics and intelligence. But no one answered him. All of them feared that they had no right to speak on the subject as long as Robin himself did not speak about it first. What the hell happened for all of that? Billy clenched his hands for a few more seconds and then let out a long exhale and looked at Robin again. Do you have any preferences about what we should do on the continent now? After the ruling class of all the noble families were killed and the demons walked freely in the streets, all definitions of government and safety collapsed. Everything turned into now devastating chaos. The supply chains of main goods were cut off. The stores are closed. No one dares to go out and farm because there are no one to protect them and their crops. And people are starting to gather to form gangs to raid their neighbors and steal a piece of old bread. This situation can't exist more than this. Now that you killed whom you want to kill, it's time to redirect the continent to where you want. A half smile appeared on Robin's face. Why are you saying it like this? Isn't that good news? Let them fight. Humans always have reasons to fight over. Now at least they have a good reason. Look at the bright side. At least now they are all on the same cultivation level. I don't think anyone else will dare to break into the knighthood realm anytime soon. Robin, we have to intervene or we will lose control of the continent forever. Everyone will die of starvation. And this will be a blood stain on the Burton family forever, even if we can survive on our own. The Burton family? Finally, Robin turns to his side and looks Billy in the eyes. There's no such thing as the Burtons now. There aren't any families. This system is over. Now there's Robin Burton and the enforcers working under Robin Burton. Don't worry. No one blames the enforcers. You! Billy nearly stepped forward and punched Robin in the face, but he just turned around and walked over to his Draco. You bastard! It's on you then. Let's just spread that His Excellency has given orders to starve the whole damn continent. I don't even know why I bother myself with this. You have been unbearable since you came back. Unbearable. Billy, take the Burtons and the families who fought with us and stay in the capital of the Black Sun temporarily. I think William Marley will be polite to you. Tell the men in the special legions to rest and cultivate properly until next time I summon them. They deserve some extended rest. Robin called out to Billy before he flew and tossed 3 metallic tablets. When Amon returns to Nahari again to fetch more demons, tell him to bring you a number of energy stones and pearls to help you in training. He will manage it. Billy picked up the 3 metallic tablets and with a quick swipe of his soul sense, he found that they were the 3rd stage of the laws of fire, darkness, and wind. Billy gave a long sigh. The men would love this, thank you on their behalf. Then he jumped on the back of the Draco and quickly disappeared from view. Zara. About a full minute after Billy left, Robin shouted, "You finally remembered I'm here." Zara left her companions and came on flying when she heard him calling. "Tell me about your life, Legion." Robin got straight to the point. "Humph, at least ask me how I'm doing for a few minutes first, so I can believe you care." Zara put her hand on her waist and spoke, but he quickly gave a smile and continued. "Anyway, by my count, the Life Corps has 422 people. Most of them joined early on and reached high levels of sainthood, and there are 27 people, including me, have made it all the way to level 30. Good enough." Robin nodded and passed a metal tablet to Zara. "Here you will find the 3rd stage of the life law. Absorb it first, then distribute it on your legion." "Wow, thank you." Zara grabbed the metal tablet, almost flew with joy. It has been a while since she and her new friends hit level 30, and they haven't been able to advance again. "Take those too." He moved Robin and aimed her at an empty area beside him, and a small mountain of gleaming stones and pearls suddenly appeared that refreshed the place. "These energy stones are much better than the ones you know. Use them and distribute them to your legion to help them cultivate faster." "I do not know what to say," Zara muttered in a low voice when she saw the energy stones and pearls. Without Robin saying their benefits, the shape and aura of the stones were obvious enough. Especially these pearls. "Say that you will be a sage in a week. I see that you have been stuck at level 30 for a few years. You can definitely do it. And the rest of those who are at the apex of the sainthood in your legion should try to break through to the sagehood realm as well, while the rest should break through at least a level. After the deadline of 1 week, there is going to be a very stressful, tiring, and dangerous mission for you all. You must seize the opportunity and get stronger as soon as possible. You should also relax and clear your mind for the next mission." Robin looked into Zara's eyes and spoke seriously. "Count on me." She laid Zara, spoke confidently, and then went back to tell her friends the new orders. Jabba waited for a while until the Life Legion came and took all the energy stones and pearls, then spoke. "How about me and the 200 sage-level demons that you also summoned? Do you have any orders for us at the moment? You can do whatever you like. Cultivating, fishing, or enjoying the ocean. The important thing is that you are ready after a week." "A week again? What happens after the week?" Jabba furrowed his eyebrows and asked. Robin slowly raised his hand and pointed toward the ocean in the direction he had been looking at all along. "We have a long flight ahead." 1 week later, a large number of winged Draco beasts soared into the sky one after the other and started shrieking excitedly. "Master, everything is ready. We can move now." Jabba came from behind Robin, who was still sitting on the edge of the cliff, and spoke. When Robin heard this, he closed his eyes for a moment and inserted his spiritual sense into the voice ring for a few moments, then stood and flew silently toward one of the Draco's beasts, and Jabba went after him. Then he moved the Draco to float higher and looked down at the rest with a satisfied gaze. There were exactly 200 Dracos. Standing on top of each of them are 2 green armored humans and 1 demon. Robin waited for everyone to control his Draco and stood in the air steadily, and then they all made a full bow in front of him, after which he spoke at last. "I realize that my orders to form the squadron may seem strange to some of you, but we will now move toward another continent and must be prepared for everything we meet." Everyone was surprised to hear my words "other continent," especially the humans who started looking at each other with amazement and even some enthusiasm. Even Sage Zara, who was standing on top of one of the Draco beasts, couldn't hold herself and asked, "Another continent, Father? Like the one ruled by empires? But isn't it too far away?" Robin looked at her with a slight smile. right? I used the major heavenly space law to determine the exact location of our destination and the distance between us. It takes months if we want to sail for it using ships, so I decided to form this team. Calculating the normal Draco speed, we will arrive after 6 days of continuous flight. But the Draco beasts can't fly all these days without rest. And of course, we can't rest for long in the middle of the ocean where powerful sea beasts live. Each Draco carries 2 Life Legion members. You will switch roles between you every few hours to inject vital energy into your Draco to make it fly effortlessly, while the one who is resting can recharge his energy with the energy pearls I gave you. This way we can complete the path until we reach our goal without a need to stop. Demon Sages, each of you will be responsible for protecting the Draco under his feet and the 2 humans by his side. If we encounter a storm, form an energy shield around them. If a beast approaches, kill it and always stay alert. Every Draco and those above it are a team now. Any shortcoming from any one part of the team will be punished mercilessly. Understood. Understood. Everyone responded in one voice. Then the humans and demons started looking at each other and nodding. Some even shook hands with each other. They would share the same tiny space on the back of their Draco for not a short while. Good Robin nodded when he saw this, then ordered his Draco to turn and began to fly forward at top speed. And then the rest of the 200 Dracos followed after loud shrieks. Another continent, huh? Jabba folded his hands and spoke while standing beside Robin. Entering your enemy's fort with such a small number of troops is a great risk if you take my opinion. But well, I'm coming with you anyway. A dark smile appeared on Robin's face when he heard this and replied, "Don't worry. It would be like taking sweets from a child." 6 days later, the central continent. Ha 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 ha. It's your fault because you are trying what you can't. How can your ridiculous plants stand in front of my flames? You clowns of the Sacred Tree Empire do nothing but move the plants and their roots. What's so cool about that? A young-looking teen laughing out loud. Foe! A girl spat some blood on the ground and then stood up and took an offensive posture again. Didn't my big brother use these plants to beat you up the last time you fought? You just want to bully me because I'm a level lower than you, and because there is no forest nearby. What's stopping you from leaving, sweetie? The role says we have to hold back if someone wants to run with his tail between his legs. It is not like I can do something to you if you want to go. The young man spoke again and sarcastically signaled her to leave. I won't go anywhere before you give me my sword. It is a gift from my big brother. The girl replied, then suddenly moved his hand. Dozens of twigs appeared from under the ground and started attacking the young man again. Ha 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 ha. The young man jumped up and seemed to throw a faint yellow flame randomly on the branches and on the girl herself. Ah! When the girl noticed that her branches were burned again and that the flame was coming toward her, she raised her 2 hands to prepare for the collision. The girl opened her eyes again and found a wall of water in front of her, then looked next to her and exclaimed with joy, Natalie! The girl named Natalie smiled and then looked seriously at the young man. Dave Barnett, were you going to hurt her with this attack? Do you know what the elders would have done to you if they knew about this? Humph. Stop talking like you are better than me. You are taking advantage that we are next to the beach. If we were inside the continent, you wouldn't be able to produce a quarter of this water. The young man gasped after he landed on the ground, angry because she had stopped his attack at the crucial moment. Blame your luck that we are not inside the continent. Do you want to try me now? You! At this moment a strong, calm voice came from afar. All right, guys, disperse now, find other opponents for you, and remember not to hurt each other. Little Dave, give the girl her sword. When Dave looked at the source of the sound to his left, someone was floating smoothly in the air. One of the watching elders of the Wind Empire was passing by chance. Then Dave shouted, That girl caused my prey to escape. The sword is compensation. Dave, give her back her sword. Don't make me report to one of the sages of the Flame Empire to come and deal with you. Teske. All right. Dave responded angrily and sent the short sword flying toward the girl. Good. Now go get yourself another prey and do, Before the elder could complete what he wanted to say, suddenly a huge cloud darkened the place. When he raised his head to see what was happening, he was surprised by a number of huge winged beasts. so big that he had never seen or heard about such flying beasts in his life, and all of them emitting a saint aura. Ah! The girls were terrified at the sight and hugged each other. Even Dave Barnett and the rest of the guys next to the shore began to take steps back, and some of them fell on their butts from looking up in fear. Form a defensive circle. When the elder saw this, he shouted at all the terrified youth in the area and quickly went and floated on top of their circle, ready to receive the attacks of these strange flying beasts at any moment. But very strangely, the swarm of winged beasts passed above them and continued its way deep into the continent, leaving the vast ocean behind. What the hell was that? The elder finally relaxed after the swarm of winged beasts started to move away. He began to float up looking at the direction they were heading, trying to figure out what exactly they were. But at this moment,
Boom asterisk.
something came down from the sky like a meteor, causing a huge hole in the ground. Cough, cough. What was that? Looks like it fell from a swarm of flying beasts? Maybe one of these beasts was carrying a big fish and it fell off. Stay in your defensive circle. The elder shouted at them and began to advance towards the pit that was covered with flying dust. But he stayed put when he heard a voice. Asterisk step. 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 Asterisk. Finally, the dust began to clear and a shadow appeared from the bottom of the pit. It was a crimson creature with sharp spiral horns, who slowly looked around with a terrifying smile on his face that sent a shiver into the hearts of everyone present. 20 kilometers away in that direction are 500 individuals and 2 observers. Robin opened his eyes and pointed in a certain direction. Jabba looked at the flying Dracos behind him and yelled, "Tammuz, Shaquille, you both know what to do." 2 demons nodded, jumped off the Draco, and started flying in that direction. At a distance of 40 kilometers, there are 2,000 individuals and 6 observers. Again, Robin pointed in a certain direction and commented, 6 observers? When he heard this, Jabba looked at Zara and sent her something using the thought-conveying technique. Then Zara shouted, "The 15th company is coming with me. This task is ours." 10 Life Legion individuals, including Zara, jumped out and started flying in that direction at full speed. There is a big building there with 30 individuals in it, about 90 kilometers away. It looks like the Northern Lookout Station. Robin spoke again, pointing at northwest. Then Jabba furrowed his eyebrows and looked to his left. "Brother Soccer, we will bother you again. Anything for Master. Let's go." The Demon King Soccer replied with a hoarse voice and shouted, and 20 other demons followed him in that direction. After they went, Jabba looked behind him, checking what was left of the troops. He counted only 5 sages and 20 saints from the Life Legion. Then he shook his head, sighed, and spoke to Robin. "I knew we should have brought more." Then Robin opened his eyes again and spoke, not pointing towards any direction this time. "That's good enough. There aren't any large gatherings left in the central continent. Divide the forces that haven't been deployed to be support and escort teams if there is a problem with the rest. Now let's go back to the gathering point at the middle of the continent and wait for the good news." Jabba nodded and then directed the Draco squadron to go back. Quiet. A few long hours passed since they arrived at the shores of the central continent, so they toured it from south to north, and whenever Robin spotted a large human gathering, he sent a number of demons or Life Legion members towards them before he continued his way, and finally planted a few of his forces everywhere, covering the entire continent. After a few seconds of flying, Jabba spoke again. "If you take my opinion, I really don't think it was a good idea to send squads of demons only as you instructed. They don't know the language of the people of this planet, and they are very ferocious in how they do their business. You said that this continent is where the 4 empires gather to train, right? You only want the Flame Empire, but now you are sending these squads to every gathering without knowing who they are. This kind of randomness is not good. It will not end well. This continent contains only young men who are in knighthood realm or at the beginning of the sainthood at most, and with them, a number of observers to ensure their safety, and they are only at the top of sainthood, and there are also a few sages, but the overall number of the observers is not large. I think 150 is a maximum, and most of the sages here are in the lower or medium levels, so there is no need to worry about much resistance. The places that I have identified using space law are areas where a certain law is more active than others. It can be said that they are in training sessions and those observers stand a little farther away to make sure that they are fine. This continent, in some sense, can be considered some kind of a big school. As for the demons and the life forces, they all have clear instructions not to resort to killing. Their orders are just to take everyone they find to the heart of this continent and break the bones of those who try to escape from them. I have no doubt that they will abide by the instructions. But if someone tries to court his death and forces our men to kill him, he is not to blame except himself. If the other 3 empires' kids get killed, no matter what the cause, I'm afraid you will make yourself more enemies. We are talking about families with almost unlimited resources and advanced training techniques available to everyone. The forces we encountered when rescuing your friend Billy and your sons are definitely nothing compared to the true forces of the Flame Empire. To be honest, I don't know if we can win without much sacrifice, and now your actions will most likely gain you 3 more enemies of that caliber. Jabba shook his head. It is clear from the actions of the Flame Empire that these 4 empires have reached the limits of arrogance that exceeded all known. And this place is the best proof of that. It is supposed to be a continent for fighting and training among the younger generation. This is understandable and actually smart. If every family occupies a continent of their own, then they will get soft without constant fighting opportunity. And this place provides that for them. But each empire sending a number of observers to make sure that their kids will not be harmed. How are they going to fight if no one can harm the other? Is this continent dedicated to training and skill polishing? Or is it a social club? This place is a joke. But it also says a lot about how well the 4 empires protect their children and feel that no one has the right to touch a hair of their head, even in training, much less be taken as hostages. Indeed, they have much larger forces than the ones we faced before, and a large number of them have reached sagehood. But in our battle that you mentioned, how many demons on our side were killed? Jabba didn't know what to say. Robin did know the losses. They were negligible compared to the scale of that battle. They used to live very prosperously. They thought that the energy level and the technique of the major law of fire would suffice them to rule this planet forever. But they had forgotten how terrifying life can be at times. Robin spoke in exasperation. It is too late for the Flame Empire. But what is happening now will be a fitting pinch for the rest of the empires to wake up and know that there is no longer a place for arrogant people in this world anymore. Only I can act arrogant. Then he continued, if one of the other 3 empires tried to make us enemies even after they saw the power of the Life Legion and the power of the demons here, they are welcome to try. I will direct my gaze towards them after I finish up the Flame Empire anyway. I could no longer stand the presence of stupid and arrogant people on the back of my planet anymore. I can't risk another disaster. There will be no more variables here anymore. I had had enough. His words closed the subject completely in Jabba's face. He let out a long sigh and focused on commanding the Draco Squadron. 3 weeks later. You filthy, ugly creature. It looks like you really are sick of life. Just you wait. My father will flay you alive when he finds out what's going on here. The escorting demon only roared vigorously as a reply to the unknown words of this human. Dave, just shut your mouth and keep going. We have been walking for weeks already. Don't ruin everything and get us killed now. Natalie came up behind him and pulled his shirt sleeve. Damn it. I think that thing doesn't even understand a word. Even a much weaker beast can understand human speech, but this red creature can't. And why do we have to follow the orders of that thing in the first place? What kind of a stupid species is this? Maybe he wants to lead us to his lair and devour us as he likes, while we are trotting in front of him like idiots. What should we do then? Have you not seen how the observer was killed? He ate his heart out when he tried to resist. Stay patient. We might find a more powerful observer on our way to save us from this thing. Just focus on pulling the carriage your friend is lying upon, and pray for the best, said another teenager beside him. Dave clenched his fists tightly and continued his way forward with his head tilted. He knew very well that there was no other choice. When the demon descended from the sky 3 weeks ago, he sent a mental message to everyone using the thoughts conveying technique saying that he had no intention of killing and that they should follow him somewhere to meet his master. No one knew how the demon could send his speech right into their heads. But this was not the time to act surprised and curious. Of course, they all refused, and the observer tried to resist and attacked the demon with everything he got. But he was greatly overestimating himself. The demon killed the observer with ease and ate his heart in front of them, and sent another message, this time threatening to follow him. The youths thought that their large number would make it impossible for the demon to get them in line, so they tried to run in every direction, but the demon was simply too fast. He caught most of them before they went too far, and was using long-range white flame attacks to shoot down whoever goes farther. Everyone who reserved either the physical or long-range attacks for the demon got themselves severe injuries, and some of them died. Only at that moment did the rest know that they do not have much of a choice, so they carried their injured brothers and started following the demon silently. Along their way, the demon would go absent for a few moments and then come back with a few individuals that he smelled them wandering in the area. They were mostly out for training or treasure hunting, but they found themselves thrown into the group not knowing what was going on. The demon even found an observer nearby, and he succeeded in arresting him alive this time. When they started moving from the south shore, they were about 300 individuals, but at this moment their number had already reached 500. No one knows what is happening and where this creature is taking them. They just walk day and night, afraid to reach that creature's den before a strong observer finds them. What is this over there? Hey everyone, come look ahead. You should see this. The person at the front of the group suddenly shouted when he came out of the woods. What is there? Please don't say you found a cave full of corpses. Some of the people in the group began to advance quickly to see what was happening in front of them, and some of them stuck their feet to the ground, afraid that they had finally reached their place of death. Oh my! Heavens! What is going on here? Natalie, the girl from the Water Empire who was trembling in the back, gathered some courage when she heard the words of the people in front. She took a long inhale and walked forward. She opened her mouth and her eyes to the last of them. She couldn't find a word to say. The sight in front of her was extremely strange. There is a deep valley in front of them in which there are about 40,000 teenagers and young men. All are sitting on the ground politely. They can even see some of the sages from their empires among those sitting on the ground. There was absolute silence in the area. It appeared like none of them dares to breathe loudly. Around them stood a great number of the same kind of red, horned creatures, and even a few humans dressed in green armor. Their auras said that they were sages or at the upper levels of a saint realm. There were a few hundred of them, especially a few demons whose auras were so powerful and bloody. They seemed to be at least high-level sages. Although the number of prisoners from the 4 empires is overwhelmingly greater, all of this is useless in front of more than 200 sages ready to strike random attacks at the same time. Especially when they all knew how strong these demons are, they all saw or experienced their power firsthand. Each and every one of them was stronger than a human sage for the 4 empires at the same level. The thoughts of all the young men, Natalie, Dave, and the rest went crazy upon seeing this sight. They were praying that a powerful observer would find and rescue them all the way here. But the observers they knew were sitting on their butts on the ground. They couldn't find an explanation they are seeing right now. Who would dare to capture the young generation and the sages of the 4 empires? Who else has this kind of power in the first place? But at least they don't have to be afraid that they are going to a lair to be eaten anymore. This without a doubt was a huge concentration camp. Suddenly Zara landed in front of the group and spoke sternly. Group number 201. Move one by one and take your places at the end of the camp. None of you say a word without being asked to speak. Understand? Go ahead. Then she looked at the demon who had accompanied them here and nodded at him and sent through the thought-conveying technique. After you put them in their places, you can go to rest for a bit, and I will send a member of the Life Legion to revitalize you and get you to your optimum state again. I realize that it has been a long journey for you. The demon nodded at Zara and then looked back at a group and roared towards them, then began to lead them to their place at the back of the camp. Then she flew again toward the lone tent standing in front of the camp and spoke in a low voice. Father, the last group has finally arrived. Everything is ready for you now. After a few minutes, Robin removed the tent curtain and walked out, patted Zara on the shoulder and advanced to sit on a large chair in front of the prisoners. Look up. Someone spoke in a low voice, but because the place was completely silent, his words caught everyone's attention. Damn it! Who is this now? He is sitting on my chair. He brought it from the Eastern Watchtower all the way here. A mid-level sage shouted when he saw the scene. Lower your voice. You don't want your life anymore. While little arguments and whispers erupted everywhere, Robin only looked from above at the crowd below. This place was a small valley carved in the ground, surrounded by higher lands and small hills. It was most likely some kind of a lake that dried out thousands of years ago. And it was perfect for this job. Robin continues staring down without emotion on his face for more than 5 minutes until everyone fell silent again and turned to look up at the guy that looked like the boss of these red monsters. Then he spoke softly as if he was arguing with someone sitting in front of him, but his voice clearly reached the ears of the tens of thousands of men and women in front of him. I realize you have some concerns, but you are here as temporary guests. When what we want is finished, each of you will return to your family. So I ask everyone to cooperate until we finish this matter quickly. And what exactly do you want? Do you know who we are? You will all be dead when our families know what is going on here. The Demon King Sokka roared with full force when the prisoners began to speak to his master in a tone he did not like. In an instant, the valley was completely calm again. Then Robin continued, How can I not know you? Young gentlemen and girls of the Four Empires, the dynasty of the Four Great Emperors, the discoverers of the major laws, and the actual forces that run this world. I know you are the sons and daughters of the higher-ups of the empires and that you came to socialize, to train. Do I got it right? Small voices and talks began to erupt again. This guy and his monsters didn't strike casually but knew they were, and obviously they have a plan for them. Let's make this discussion more civil so that no more happens chaos. I don't like chaos and I won't condone it every time. I want 4 people to come forward now to speak on behalf of the delegations of the 4 empires, while the rest shut up. How about that? I'll give you 5 minutes to choose among yourselves. The sages of the empire started standing one by one, looking at each other and making simple gestures among themselves, and in less than 5 minutes 4 sages came forward to stand in the front while the rest sat down again. When Robin saw this he said, Good, now we can. Young man, was what you just used the minor heavenly law of sound? Who exactly did you take it from? One of the 4 sages interrupted Robin and spoke annoyed. Robin looked at that sage with knotted eyebrows. Jabba was about to attack that sage because he interrupted his master, but Robin raised his hand and stopped him. Then he waved that hand, and a small tornado appeared and started dancing next to him. Is that the major heavenly law of the wind? Everyone from the Wind Empire couldn't believe their eyes. No, there is something strange. The movements of this tornado seem smoother than usual, and making it was also much easier. What is happening exactly? Where did you steal technique this from? God damn it. Who is the traitor that leaked our secret technique? Robin didn't care to answer anyone. He just moved the same hand again, created a small white flame, and threw it towards the tornado. The little dancing tornado turned into a fierce flame hurricane. That, Dave, come to think of it, isn't that the major law of fire? This question hit everyone's head when hearing it. They all saw the white flames before when fighting the demons, but they didn't give it much thought because the demons themselves were an alien species. Maybe this white fire was their specialty or something. But seeing Robin using it now made them see it from a totally different perspective. Robin then again hit his foot on the ground and a huge tree came out with a huge number of strong roots around it. Then he hit the ground with his other foot and underground water came out and started to wrap around the tree and roots. And with another wave, green energy burst out of his hand and landed on the tree and the roots which made them grow even more. The 40,000 prisoners all locked themselves up watching what was happening in front of them. The proud sons and daughters of every empire were busily observing the law they had been practicing all their lives. The sons of the Wind Empire watched the movement of the hurricane, and the sons of the Flame Empire watched the white flames that were burning even the wind itself. The sons of the Water Empire were focusing on the amount of water that came out of the underground and its density and movements, while the sons of the Sacred Tree Empire watched the shape and strength of the roots that emerged from the dried underground in a flash, but still couldn't find out how he makes them grow even further at the speed, as the law they are studying can't do that. In just a few seconds, they all reached the same unbelievable result. No way! You have all the 4 major laws? How dare you steal them? The 4 emperors will not stay silent about this. Heh! Robin let out a chuckle when he heard this. It seems you don't want to believe what you are seeing. Those petty techniques you have been practicing your whole life on are just broken and polluted. They are a disgrace to the major laws. Don't compare them to my masterpiece. But it's okay. Let me help you see the truth. After Robin finished speaking, a small cloud gathered beside him and began to rain, and then extremely white and focused lightning bolts began to descend from it to strike the ground. Then Robin moved his hand towards a huge boulder in the valley, and it floated up and started moving around like a feather. Are those the lightning and the gravity major laws? It was not known who muttered these two sentences, but his voice was heard in all directions without a doubt. These two major laws shouldn't be known yet. At that moment Robin moved his hand and everything vanished as if it was never there. Even the tree and its roots went underground. Then he spoke. I didn't have to show you rats anything, but I didn't like your empty arrogance in front of me. All you take pride in is nothing to me. You yourselves are nothing to me. So I advise you to be more polite in addressing your words from now on. This will be your last warning. Everyone lowered their heads down and clenched their teeth and their hands upon hearing those words. They were fuming inside but still didn't find anything to respond with. It was clear that the laws that Robin just used are different and more powerful than their own. Even though he used them all at the same time and he clearly does not specialize in one of them, his law was still better than everyone present. However, they tried to deny what they saw, but how can they still convince themselves after seeing the rest of the major laws? Everyone focused their eyes on Robin, and on the 3-meter giant standing beside him. If they were scared just a little while ago, then they are absolutely terrified now. These guys weren't punching above their weight. They came knowing what they are up to. Even the elders started to look around. The humans wearing green armor used some kind of green energy to bring items to life and use it in their battles. It was similar to the one Robin used just now on the tree. Does that mean they are using another major law? Well, they are undoubtedly very powerful. If bringing things to life isn't a major law, then what is? And those strange demons, each of them had enough strength to kill any sage with ease. They are the sages of the 4 empires. They are the users of the major heavenly laws. They are not some random cabbages. What exactly is this force? Where did they come from and what do they want from them? Since when this world has this kind of expert outside of the 4 empires? And since when more major heavenly laws have been discovered? Anyway, Robin did not wait for a response and directly continued. I will explain what's going on here as simply as possible. The Flame Empire has kidnapped a number of my followers, and I want them back. Everyone will be fine as long as you stay obedient until that happens. The representative of the Flame Empire expedition started to sweat. He has been stationed here for decades and didn't know what was going on back there. Flame Empire? What the hell have you done? Who are these people? Don't tell you don't know. There have been a few ships coming from your continent in the past few years. Someone must have told you something. The representative of the Sacred Tree Empire expedition looked at the guy next to him and shouted, You are the reason for what is happening now. Why would you kidnap people belonging to such an entity, you damned idiots? I don't know. I really don't know. No one has told me anything. This is definitely a secret matter of senior executives. How would someone like me know about it? The sage from the Flame Empire panicked and responded quickly. Shit, sir. If your problem is with the Flame Empire, then what are we to do with it? The sage of the Water Empire turned and spoke. Robin shrugged. Nothing, but you are going to stay here with me until the exchange is over. I can't allow an unexpected accident to happen. I think you can understand that. Before one of the 4 sages replied, Robin continued, All the ships you came with were taken under our control, so don't try to escape. It will have dire consequences. And don't wait for rescue either. The continent is being patrolled by Dracos all day long. If any other ship comes, it will be captured and its crew will be brought here to join you. Because I am a generous and understanding man. Whoever wants to go out may go. You can continue your training and hunt your own food. But whoever leaves will have to return to register his attendance every 3 days maximum. And whoever is late will be chased and killed directly. I trust you will behave. These are just temporary measures until I finish my affairs with the Flame Empire and leave you be. Generous and understanding man may ask. He simply does not want to bring us food even though he has imprisoned us. one of the four sages muttered in a very low voice. Robin heard him clearly but did not comment, but instead turned his eyes toward the sage representative of the Flame Empire. As for you, me? Yes. Yes?
Hakim replied nervously.
Take one of the ships and immediately move towards the continent of the Flame Empire. Tell the officials if they want to see their sons here safe again, they should bring me all the prisoners they captured in the ancestral continent, especially the prisoners from the 4 special forces and the Rune Masters. And don't try to play any game like keeping some of them locked up there. I know every single one you took. The journey from here to the continent of the Flame Empire takes about 3 months. I will give you 6 months for the round trip and an extra week to gather all my followers. Every day delay after that I will kill 100 children of the Flame Empire. Understand? Understood. I will move right away. The sage of the Flame Empire bowed and almost flew eastward, afraid that Robin would turn back at his words and have him stay. Wait, you idiot. If you fly to the borders of the continent on your own, you will take days. Robin spoke and then looked toward one of the demons at his side. Can you get him to the location of the Flame Empire ships for me? Yes. The demon bowed slightly and then jumped over the Draco next to him and signaled to the sage of the Flame Empire to jump after him, after which they both disappeared from view. The ancestral continent? There are people that strong in the ancestor continent? Didn't they tell us that it's just a desolate place where the weak minor heavenly law users live? Those alien races used to live with our ancestors back there. Why wasn't this put in the books? The sage of the Flame Empire was so excited that he wouldn't have to die in this place that he didn't check what Robin said carefully. But those words couldn't escape unnoticed by the rest of the prisoners. Robin didn't care what was happening below. He had already said what had to be said. So he simply rose from his chair and walked towards his tent silently. Were you doing all this for a hostage exchange? Do you really think this would work? Jabba quickly moved behind Robin and asked with furrowed eyebrows. Why wouldn't it succeed? All the teenagers in the valley are from imperial families, and most of them are the sons of sages and individuals with high authority. Otherwise, when they get the chance to cross the ocean to cultivate in this place, I think they will want to get them back rather than keep a handful of useless prisoners. Robin spoke as he moved. Useless? You just said that they keep the Rune Master and Special Legions members, maybe even Caesar himself. Are they going to let go of them so easily? Jabba asked again. They are all useless because they are under oath to shut their mouths. They are keeping them prisoners until they decode the oath tablets and free them from the oath so that they can speak and expose what they know about the runes. But they should know by now that the Ath tablets are nothing like the fire explosion talisman. Decoding it may take them hundreds of years. They will refuse and act with anger first, but it will not take time before they decide to release them in order to get their sons back, of course. They will think of coming back to the ancestral continent and capturing the Rune Masters again after decoding the oath tablets. Robin replied with a half-smile. He knew they wouldn't get that chance a second time. Theoretically, you are right, but the empire that destroyed your family without warning surely won't compromise so easily. And that sage who left saw all our troops here. Do you think that when he comes back he will really have your followers with him? Robin stopped at this moment and gave a cruel smile. Don't let such thought weigh you down. Just tell me when Amon comes. Amon? Jabba was surprised and wanted to ask Robin again what was going on. But he had already made his way to his tent. 3 months later, inside the throne hall in a luxurious palace. My son is a prisoner, and in the hands of some peasants from the ancestral continent on top of that? Do you understand what you are saying? Why have I been feeding you dogs all these years? A middle-aged man wearing a crown inlaid with rare stones stood up and shouted. Why, Your Majesty, we had nothing in our hands. The creatures he brought with him are just very powerful. Forget about us. He captured all the youths and observers in the central continent and not just our youth. This was the sage that Robin had let go. He fell to the ground on his knees from the terror and pressure that had descended upon him and began to stutter. Just standing in front of the Flame Emperor of this generation was worrying enough, but standing in front of him when he is angry? This is a nightmare. He captured even the sons of other empires? The Flame Emperor furrowed his eyebrows. Isn't the Flame Empire enough for him as an enemy, so he went to pick a few more? That bastard has some nerve. Looks like we really underestimated this Robin Burton. An aging old man standing to the right of the throne muttered in a low voice, I don't want to say that, but you should have taken my advice back then and investigated it further. It's just a 200-year-old mouse living on the ancestral continent. Do we go and make deals with me? Tell him. Please, we are stupid and we need help. Give us everything you ever made? No, we had to take what we want. And what can we investigate further? He is just a kid from some ordinary family and he was struggling in a mortal war against some locals called Dolliver. I still say that we made the right decision. An old woman standing to the left of the throne spoke this time, and then looked toward the back of the emperor standing in front of her. Because that mouse managed to find help we didn't know about doesn't mean you made a mistake when making the invasion decision. Remember that you are always right. That mouse has managed to discover techniques for all the known major heavenly laws, and they are much purer than the one we know at that. He has techniques for other major laws such as darkness and gravity, and he created the talisman system that we have never heard of before and, damn, I even forgot the rest of the innovations we heard about. The old man spoke in exasperation. How did you not consider that he might have someone higher than all of us to look after him? Someone from outside this world. Who's out of the world? The heavens or the stars? It seems that age has affected your mind, old man. The old woman waved sarcastically. Enough! The Flame Emperor suddenly shouted. Tell me, how do I get my son and the rest of the detainees back? Hear me out and do as Robin said. Send all the prisoners to him and he will return our children to us. We heard a lot about him from the ancestral continent since this useless war started. We know he is a benevolent person and always carries out his promises. This kind of nature doesn't just disappear. I assure you that if we do what he says, he will abide too. The old man spoke. No, 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 you damn old man should be thrown out of the crown hall. You want to humiliate the great Flame Empire in front of a boy. The old woman yelled angrily. Your Majesty, you should send forces to capture this Robin and kill all his henchmen in Central Continent. Then not only will you be able to bring our juniors back, but we will be able to get our hands on what we want. Isn't our goal from the beginning was to capture him? What is going on inside your brain, woman? Didn't you hear? They have over 200 sages. That's roughly a quarter of our current troop of sages. That's not mentioning the other 400 high-ranking saints. If our troops go and a big fight starts there, our little ones will get hurt and maybe Robin Burton will order them to be killed during the battle. The old man turned and shouted. It would be a proper sacrifice in exchange for capturing Robin Burton alive. Even if we forgot about his talisman system, obtaining one or two of his major heavenly laws techniques will make the whole world have one empire. The Great Flame Empire. The woman ignored the old man's words and looked toward the emperor's back again. We can't give this guy much time. This time he appeared with 200 demon sages. What would happen next? Your Majesty, we must get rid of him as soon as possible.
Aprupe sacrifica.
It's 10,000 teenagers and young men. They are our whole new generation. What will we do with the techniques if we have no one to learn them? How would our people be happy with our success when there is a dead child in every household? Do you realize what you are saying, you old crocodile? The old man got agitated as if he wanted to pounce on the woman. Then he looked at the emperor. Your Majesty, wars happen and that's natural. Every time it ends with peace treaties and common interests. I say we should take advantage of this prisoner's exchange and begin this talk with Robin Burton. We can make him give us some benefits if we give him something in return. This is how normal humans do their business. Give us some benefits? We should haggle with the mouth now? I will commit suicide before that happens. Everything is okay if that's what it takes to capture Robin Burton alive. Even if all our younger generation dies. The old woman answered coldly. You! The old man was about to finish, but was suddenly interrupted. I have decided. The emperor's voice finally echoed again. We will capture Robin Burton, and we will bring all our sons as well. Both the old man and the old woman furrowed their brows upon hearing this. The emperor turned to face the two. Old Gu, gather the fleet and fill it with all the prisoners we brought from the ancestral continent. All of them. Yes. The old man replied with a smile. Then the emperor looked back at the old woman with a vague smile. Old G, that bastard gave us 1 week. Gather all the high-level sages and saints that you can reach within 1 week and hide them in those ships. Haha, what a good plan. A good plan indeed. I have taught you well. Old woman G laughed out loud. Old Gu furrowed his eyebrows when he heard this. The emperor's plan became clear, even though he had to acknowledge that it was indeed smart. If successful, it would be a perfect shot. But if it failed, you too. You're still underestimating Robin Burton again. 3 months later, in the vast ocean between the ancestral continent and the central continent. Why don't you just tell me? I won't stop asking until I have an answer. Tell me what happened to Robin in that Nahari world. Billy spoke urgently. By today, it has been about 9 months since Robin returned with his allies to this world. During this period, Amon learned a thing or two about the language of this planet. He learned a lot, especially from Billy, who was basically inseparable from him during this period. Amon focused on looking in front of him, pretending to look at the open sea in front of him with slightly knotted eyebrows like he was thinking about something important, and he did not give a reply. You miserable creature. Robin considers you a close follower, but instead of reaching out to help him get over whatever happened, you encourage him more? What kind of follower are you? Billy got pissed off when didn't get his answer and started shouting. Again, this is not the first time such dialogue takes place, and not the second time either. He reined him with such questions whenever he saw him, and Amon kept running away every time. But since the beginning of this sea voyage, Billy has not left Amon's side, knowing that Amon has nowhere to run anymore. But things didn't change much. Amon's mental resistance and patience were much stronger than he thought. Whenever he comes and asks him about what happened to Robin in Nahari, he would receive no reply. Then Billy would start a rage shouting session and go sit somewhere in the ship, but a few hours later he would come back again with the same questions. Amon is nothing. Amon neither encourages nor discourages the master. If the master wants to tell you, he will tell you himself. The master is the most knowledgeable being under heaven and does not need anyone to tell him what to do. Amon is the one who does what he is asked. Amon spoke in a low voice with clear annoyance. Then why don't you let me do the job, huh? Just tell me why he came back a changed man like that. Maybe I will find a solution and try to help him. What exactly happened there? Billy got excited when he finally heard a reply for Amon and got closer, with wide open eyes, like a child asking for sweets from his father.
Boom.
A strong crashing sound came from the side of the ship that made it rise tens of meters above sea level. A sea beast of the snake faction, a mid-sage level. A demon shouted in the language of the Nahari world. Amon did not move from his place, did not change his standing position even as the ship was still rising in the air, but a large number of demons above the ship jumped from it and headed towards the left side of the ship, where the white flames immediately began to rise. In the blink of an eye, the terrifying sea monster's roar turned into a howling of pain. After diving again and disappearing, the huge metal ship landed again on the surface of the water, causing a great splash and even huge waves that affected the rest of the ships in the fleet. But it simply continued the same way as before, as if nothing had happened. Hey! Stop ignoring me, we are almost at our destination already. Who knows what enemies we'll face? This is the continent that contains the Flame Empire. Do you understand that? We could all even die. Come on, tell me something useful. You damn creature. Amon had to look beside him at this annoying human who didn't even reach his shoulder height and spoke. Why the hell are you on the ship with Amon in the first place? You? Billy wanted to argue, but at that moment he caught a glimpse of something on the horizon. Is this land? Yeah. Looks like we are here. Amon was happy to answer this question. Tisk damn you. I'm gonna go check the beach. If we are still alive after the war is over, I'll definitely make you tell me. Bailey replied, then rose up and flew towards the central continent. Heh. Amon sighed and then got off the ship and flew after him. A few minutes later, on the southern coast of the central continent. Billy's eyes were a person approaching, flying towards him as well, and quickly he could see his features. Jabba! Right after Billy and Jabba met, Amon arrived too, and Jabba spoke to Amon. What took you so long? The master expected your arrival days ago. Aman will apologize to my master later. The number of sea beasts and their strength exceeded all expectations. During our coming we received several waves of monsters that slowed us down, and even greatly damaged one of the ships. Aman's explained. The sea beasts managed to greatly damage one of the ships that the master designed. What would the losses have been if you came with normal ships then? Jabba furrowed his eyebrows upon hearing the news and looked behind Aman, toward the oncoming fleet. Concentrate on me, Jabba. Where's Robin? What's up with the war here? Have you managed to conquer a flame empire city yet? Billy intervened in the speech and sent to Jabba via the transmission technology. I can a thing or two in your language, Sister Zara taught me. About which war and which flame empire city are you talking about? Jabba stuttered a little and then continued. It doesn't matter. This is not the time now, according to the appointed time. The prisoners will arrive in a week at the latest. We must proceed to the eastern part of the continent at once. Aman nodded. Everyone will be ready to move in half an hour. Then he turned and headed back towards the fleet, which almost reached the shore. Minutes later, before the ships reached the shore, swarms of tens of thousands of demons flew from the ships and began to take formations in the sky. 5 more days later, near the eastern shore of the central continent. I see the beach, and many crimson things above it. Prepare to lower the anchors. A man flying over a large fleet of ships of distinctive shape suddenly shouted loudly. After hearing that shout, a number of people also began flying over the boats, looking toward the land with longing and fear. Longing because they came close to seeing their children and grandchildren after they were almost destroyed by anxiety for the 3 months they spent at sea, and deep fear that they won't. Ever since they heard the description of those evil creatures and what they could do, they feared that these things have already killed and eaten their kids. And, of course, a simple amount of fear towards the strength of that new enemy. The enemy that suddenly decided to take on the Flame Empire and kidnap their new generation. Were they overestimating themselves? Or did they know exactly what they were doing? This can only be known with a fight. Whenever the eyes of one of the sages or the saints fall upon what lies waiting for them on the shore, he opens his eyes to the last of them and says, "May the heavens have mercy on us." Each of them acted as if they saw a demon from folklore. Well, they actually did see demons. Nearly 200 sage-level demons lined up in a row. Behind them were thousands of people dressed in tattered clothes, and some of them were injured and were left in dangerous conditions. Even without seeing their faces from afar, with one look the sages of the Empire were able to determine that those are their children and grandchildren. These are the future of the Flame Empire. These boys and girls are treated with the utmost respect even by the rest of the 3 empires, but their shape now is closer to that of beggars. Above them hovering many 4-winged flying beasts that leak a roar from time to time, and above each of these beasts stand 1 or 2 humans. It is clear that they are pet flying beasts, and whither the flying beasts of their riders, they all seem to be at least saints. And standing in front of all that is a human who puts his hands behind his back, glancing quietly at the fleet as it draws near. "Robin, Burton," said one of the sages and gritted his teeth when he saw the one in front. He already saw a portrait of him after agreeing to command this mission. Then he looked behind him and shouted, "Move forward at full speed." On the other hand, Robin raised his eyebrows slightly when he saw the ship's speed increase instead of slowing down. The ships seemed to be about to break through the shore he was standing on, but he didn't move a muscle. More than 20 ships reached the shore at the same time, but they did not stop. The smiles were wiped off the face of the 10,000 prisoners of the Flame Empire, and they began to take steps back. If the ships continued at this speed, they would be crushed beneath it. A few demons took a few steps forward, ready to stop the ships or even destroy them, but Robin raised his hand and signaled them to step back, and then again he lowered his hand and put it behind his back. "It is enough." At that moment a shout came from over the ships, and 3 sages jumped over the ships they were riding and stood in front of it, trying to block their ships themselves. All the ships finally stopped. Robin, who was standing at the front, was only 1 meter away from the bow of the ship, hitting his head. But he didn't move. Still in the same position, looking directly in front of him. From the ship that stopped in front of Robin, An old man flew gently and looked at Robin from above his nose. It seems the fear made you freeze, but I can understand this. You must have begun to realize what you have done with the silly move of taking our children hostage and became aware of the consequences. But there is no longer any room for regret. Robin finally looked up at that person, gave a smirk and spoke. A good entry. I give you that. Is that your way of scaring me? It doesn't matter, I guess. In fact, I would have loved your ship to touch me just now. I would have considered it an attack and a breach of agreement. Then I was going to bury you all here. The sage continued to look at Robin from above, but with a slightly grumpy face this time. This Robin is supposed to be the #1 genius that this world has seen and does not consider the possibility that these ships carry an army that came to kill him. Did arrogance overwhelm his judgment to this degree? Or is he really just a boy who found a legacy? Bury us? This arrogance, you truly are one of a kind, aren't you? But I guess that's to be expected from the idiot who targeted the youths of the 4 empires at the same time. You don't realize what you have done to yourself and to the entire ancestor continent, do you? The sage spoke again. I highly doubt that you can do something worse to the ancestor continent right now. Robin raised his eyebrows and replied. The imperial sage furrowed his eyebrows when he heard this. What do you mean? Are you saying that you met our troops there? Robin smiled a cruel smile. I say let my prisoners go and let us finish this exchange for the better. Continuing the discussion in this direction would not be very useful. You! The sage unleashed his aura, pressing it on everyone present. Level 40 sage. Although Robin's response was not direct, it was understandable enough. The smile on Robin's face disappeared, and an angry expression filled his face. Then he raised his hand. If you want to complete this exchange, get my men out immediately. Get down on the ground and speak to me as I speak to you. I, Robin, don't like to look up when I speak. Carry on in your arrogant manner, and the place will turn into a sea of blood. At Robin's signal, some demons began to pump out a massive white flame, forming the shape of huge demon tens of meters long. And then came Zara afterward, and a huge amount of life energy ran into the giant white flame demon. The eyes of the giant white flame demon seemed as if it had gained some consciousness out of nowhere, sending some fear and questioning into everyone's hearts at what they were seeing. Then it let out an enormous roar. Help! The giant white flame demon began to move toward the 10,000 prisoners, looking at them with eyes filled with rage and killing intent. With the size of the huge white flame demon, and the strength that it derived from dozens of demon sages, there was no doubt about his destructive ability. That thing could kill hundreds of prisoners with every hit. Wait! The sages were startled when they saw what is going on and cried out in fear for their kids. TCH. The level 40 sage murmured in anger and then waved his hand at the rest of the sages that hovered around the ships to stand back, and then descended to stand on the beach a few meters away from Robin. This is better. When Robin saw this, he waved at Zara to stop the giant white flame demon. The giant white flame demon indeed stopped all motion, but it could be seen that it hated it. The giant white flame demon stood there next to the Flame Empire prisoners, looking at them as if they were his worst enemies, ready to start killing at any moment. After the signal of the 40th level sage, the fronts of the ships slowly began to open, revealing behind them large numbers of people, mostly young men and women, all in torn clothes and covered in old stains of dirt mixed with blood, and every one of them showing signs of severe torture. Arg! It is so bright. Where are we? Our red-horned beasts. Did they bring all the way here to feed us to these things? The day has finally come then, huh? The people inside the ships mixed feelings when they saw the sight in front of them. Demons standing in front of them and Dracos flying above them. Even the giant white flame demon that looked like it was about to devour the world. No one thought for a moment that this might be a good thing. Some of them actually started to smile, rejoicing that their suffering will finally end. Robin took a big inhale when he saw these familiar faces and then spoke gently. Calm down and move steadily towards me. You are safe now. Is that? He's His Excellency. That is His Excellency. Father. A faint sound came from among the voices of the thousands of prisoners of the Burton family who began to move out of the ships, but it was strong enough to hammer Robin's heart and made him turn his head quickly towards its source. Finally, his eyes fell on the person who had just spoken. It was a saint at the top of his realm, a level 30 saint that can lead an ancient duke family like the Bradleys, but he moved as weak as a 100-year-old mortal and leaned against another young man next to him to prevent himself from falling. He was extremely skinny and wearing nothing but torn pants. It looked like he hadn't eaten in ages. Any little boy could count his bones and ribs just by looking at him. His body has old traces of torture that have not yet healed, and there are even traces of direct stab wounds in several areas of his body. It is clear that he was left to die more than once, but he was too stubborn to die and hold on to his life to this day. Caesar! Robin's eyes became blurry when he saw his child. Everything he was doing right now was to see this young man again. He feared that the Flame Empire would use Caesar as a card if he started the war directly on the Flame Empire's continent. Seeing him moving and talking again was the most important thing. Revenge can wait. Arg! Father! It's you. It's really you. It's... Caesar slowly raised his slender hand and placed it on Robin's back. It was a simple gesture, but he had extracted all the strength from his body to do it. It's okay, you are fine now, you are fine now. Robin finally left him and put his hands on either side of Caesar's head and spoke, then looked beside him at the young man on whom Caesar was leaning and spoke. Thank you for looking after my son, Alfred. Alfred Marley himself was not in much better condition than Caesar. It could be said that they were leaning on each other. But when he heard this from Robin, he forced his body to bend a little and said, Please don't thank me, Your Excellency. But please, my family. Robin moved one hand off Caesar's smiling face and placed it on Alfred's shoulder, smiling. Don't worry, I left them alive for you. Most of them, at least. Thank you. Thank you. Alfred was dumbfounded and happy for a few seconds, but suddenly he seemed to understand what most of them meant. Probably his father and maybe all the ruling class in the family had been killed, but he still cried happily. At least he still had some little relatives left. He knew this day would come, and he knew that this was the best scenario that could have happened. Robin nodded and then looked back at Caesar. Take Alfred and go rest in the forest other there. Keep moving until you can't take another step anymore. When we are done here we'll talk more. Okay? Caesar nodded with difficulty, began to lean on Alfred, and started moving to where Robin was pointing. All of you go after Caesar. We will bring you food and medicine in a little while. Then Robin raised his voice and pointed to the rest of the prisoners disembarking from the ships to the left of the shore, where they all walked in that direction slowly and weakly as if they were zombies. The sage of the Flame Empire waited a few minutes until the last prisoner came out of the ship and vacated the area and then spoke. Are you pleased now? Robin nodded, still watching Caesar move and the rest to safety. I must admit, I was pretty much expecting you wouldn't bring in any prisoners. But it looks like you guys are not completely stupid. At least there's someone wise among you. Humph. We, the Great Flame Empire, are so glad we got rid of the burden of feeding all those scum for free. The sage spoke in exasperation, evidently hating what was happening now. When Robin heard this, a provocative smile appeared on his face, but he didn't say anything. He merely waved his hand. The giant white flame demon and Nahari demons stepped aside, clearing the way for the Flame Empire hostages to move forward. You don't have to be afraid of anyone. Come on board, the sage declared loudly and pointed behind him. The hostages advanced very slowly, as happened with the prisoners of the Burton family and the Rune Masters, not because of injuries and hunger, but because of fear. These man-eating creatures, those winged beasts, the giant white flame demon, and finally, that monster that was commanding all these creatures. Everything they have seen over the past 6 months has made them terrified of every single detail around them. After the hostages passed the 2 rows of demons on either side, they started speeding up little by little and started entering the ships closest to them, happy as if they had taken permission to get out of hell to heaven. The Empire's 90 sages who had shown themselves so far descended and greeted their children and grandchildren with smiles, and then told them to enter the ships with the rest quickly. In less than a quarter of an hour, the 10,000 teenagers were all inside the ships with no problems. Then the level 40 sage of the Flame Empire in charge gave the orders, and he and the sages began to push the ships back until they reached the water again. Then they turned them to face the other direction, and began to move away slowly from the sandy shore. Without saying another word, The exchange was successful. But there was something strange about the atmosphere. It didn't ease one bit. Neither the demons seemed to rest, nor Robin went after Caesar and the rest to check on their affairs. They all remained standing in their places like statues, eyeing the imparting ships like they are waiting for something. "Master!" Demonkind Soccer came from behind Robin and spoke. "About those that were hidden inside the ships." Soccer and the rest of the demons in general caught the scent of other individuals who had not come out of the ships with the Burton prisoners, large numbers of them, and most importantly, they were all extremely strong. "I know, stay alert." Robin spoke without much emotion. Robin didn't smell anyone, but his soul sense was simply too broad and subtle. Before the ships even reached the shore, he knew the numbers of everyone in it and their strength level. The sages who had just appeared were nothing compared to those hiding inside the ships. "If we attacked first while they are still in their ships, we will have the advantage." Soccer spoke again. Robin took a long inhale and then spoke. "Robin Burton doesn't back on his promises. No matter how much I hate them, I'll keep my word until the last minute. Just wait until they start moving." Soccer didn't add a word, just gave a slight bow and returned to his position. Everyone kept looking towards the horizon as the ships started to disappear little by little. Some of the demons, even though it was a false alarm, and began to relax. But at that moment, tack, a loud shout came from the horizon, and then huge numbers of people came out of the ships, flying, and began to move back towards the shore in a hurry. "What's going on?" "A trap! It's a trap!" The saints and sages of the Life Legion were shocked when they saw so many flying humans coming out of the ships and coming towards them. They didn't have noses as powerful as demons, nor did they have an extremely precise soul sense like Robin. Seeing what was happening now was a huge shock to them. "Ha ha ha, Robin Burton, you really thought you could match the Great Flame Empire? It's time for you to pay the price for your arrogance." The level 40 sage who commanded the fleet before shouted loudly and was coming flying from afar. Not alone. Robin moved his eyes steadily, watching all those experts coming towards him, all those people who wanted to kill him. There were little more than 400 sages and 10,000 saints. He quietly inserted his spiritual sense into his voice ring and sent, "I think I'll need you here soon." This message was for Jabba. Days had passed since Jabba left to meet the fleet coming from the ancestral continent on the southern shore. He knew that Jabba was aware of the seriousness of the situation and would bring them as soon as possible, so he hadn't contacted him since he left. But now, at about the same moment, a message from Jabba arrived. "In 1 hour we will be in front of you." Robin took a deep inhale when he heard this, then took out his spiritual sense from the voice ring and inserted it into the space ring, and immediately a long plain black spear appeared in his hand. Then Robin raised his spear, unleashing his aura, a level 27 saint, and shouted loudly, "Start the defensive formation we have trained on in the last few months. We have to hold out for 1 hour and victory will be ours." "Yes!" The demons split immediately and advanced. 180 of them made an extremely tight circle with one's shoulder touching the other's shoulder, and the remaining 20 stood in the middle of the circle. Then the Life Legion members jumped over their Dracos one by one and headed toward the middle of the circle as well, allowing the Dracos to fly out of danger. Robin also jumped and entered the tight circle, standing in a defensive position. "Ha ha ha ha! Hiding behind those filthy creatures won't protect you from us," the captain of the fleet of the Flame Empire shouted, then raised his sword and set it on pale yellow fire, then lowered it to the head of the demon closest to the shore.
Asterisk boom asterisk.
The scene that the level 40 sage imagined did not happen. The body of the demon did not fly away and his body was not cremated by his flames. The demon only raised his arm before the sword hit his head, and used a small crimson shield on his arm to stop the sword. The shield wasn't scratched and the demon's arm didn't retreat an inch. Soccer, the most powerful demon king, armed with crimson divine shields scattered all over his body, was not an easy opponent to bully.
Impossible.
The level 40 sage shouted when he saw this and backed away before a counterpunch from the demon. If this demon can stop his sword strike, as if they were in a training session, surely it has the ability to fight him as an equal. When the rest of the saints and sages of the Flame Empire saw this, They also reduced their speed and contented themselves with surrounding the circle instead of attacking directly. The first contact was enough to break the momentum of the Flame Empire's forces. "What are you waiting for? Attack in full force," the commander of the Imperial forces shouted. "Haya!" Thousands of saints and hundreds of sages started using the major heavenly law of fire at the same time, seas of fire appearing in the sky all ready to descend and devour Robin and his companions. Ba ba ba. But before all those attacks came down, the Flame Empire forces were surprised that a large portion of them had disappeared. "What is happening? Where did my attack go? I put all my energy into it." "Robin Burton," the commander of the Flame Empire forces shouted when he saw what was happening in the middle of the circle. Robin, whose eyes started radiating intensely with a golden glow, stabbed his spear into the air, sending spears of energy one after the other. All the flames in the path of that energy spear disappeared as if they were not there. Especially the attacks of the sages of the Flame Empire were all targeted before they finished forming them. "Keep going. Burn them all," one of the sages shouted and began forming another powerful flame attack before it disappeared just like the previous one. But no matter how hard Robin tried, he couldn't break the attacks of 400+ sages and 10,000 saints. And they also knew that very well. Thousands of flame seas and fire beasts landed on the defensive circle. A big smile appeared on the level 40 sage's face. This kind of tightly organized attack could kill anyone on the planet with ease. These demons and Robin Burton had no chance of surviving. He already started thinking about his report and how to tell his emperor that he had to kill Robin Burton, when suddenly, at this moment, a dome of white flames appeared above the defensive circle, and it blocked everything coming its way. "What the hell is this?"
Asterisk boom asterisk.
When the combined attacks came into contact with the dome, it lost its momentum and stopped for a moment, but the dome also began to fade. This kind of power was not something the defensive dome that was created with the power of the 180 demon sages could withstand. "Now!" Zara shouted loudly when she saw this. About 200 Life Legion saints started to inject life energy into the backs of the demons who had formed the defensive ring and the dome quickly started to heal again. Not only that, about 20 Life Force sages started directly injecting life energy into the dome. The dome started moving, creating an amazing and terrifying sight. The dome was still rapidly eroding and becoming filled with gaps due to the many and accelerating attacks of the Flame Empire saints. What is new is that the dome began to draw more energy from one side to repel a fierce attack coming at the other. And every time a sage from the Flame Empire tried to enter through one of the gaps, the dome closes in front of him immediately and block his path. It appeared like a horribly torn piece of cloth that is continuously moving at a crazy speed. The sages and saints of the Flame Empire couldn't comprehend what was going on right in front of their eyes. This type of extreme speed in responding to the situation was not something that the 180 demon sages could agree upon at a moment's notice. It seemed as if the dome had gained some kind of consciousness of its own. "We are ready," the 20 demon sages who remained in the center of the defensive circle shouted after making huge white flame beasts. Then Zara and a few other sages of the life forces came and started injecting life energy into those lifeless beast images. The dome was partially opened and huge flame beasts were let out. Their eyes reminded everyone of the huge white flame demon that threatened their younger generation a while ago. Huge lifelike dragons, phoenixes, and demons that were tens of meters high, and immediately started attacking the saints of the Flame Empire. The beasts strangely started helping each other, organizing attacks, and protecting each other's backs. Immediately after the white flame beasts made their appearance, more than half of the Flame Empire saints started to worry about them, and started to defend and try to destroy these strange conscious beasts. Without noticing, they started fighting fire images and left their main mission, which is attacking the dome. The head of the Flame Empire forces looked around, wondering where he had gone wrong for the situation to turn around in such a strange way. He came with the element of surprise and the overwhelming numerical advantage, but it seemed like he was being pulled into an attrition war. Leaving aside what was happening with the saints, the Flame Empire sages were visibly eliminated from the battle because of Robin Burton's energy spears that destroyed every attack or defense they could master and stopped them from doing any helpful act. Then he looked at Robin, who was still shooting spears from inside the dome with hateful eyes. He really wanted to rip this guy apart right now, but can't think of a way to do so. So he just clenched his fist and screamed, "H!
Boom.
Hurry up and isolate that white flame beast away from the rest. It is so strong." A minute after minute passed and the situation did not change. Not even a little. If someone tries to attack the dome from afar, Robin destroys his attack. And if someone tries to hit it with a punch from close combat, the dome concentrates its power at that point and blocks him completely. Of course, some attacks still descended on the dome, affecting it and tearing it to pieces at times, but the 180 demon sages backed by 180 saints from the Life Legion continued to feed the dome and renovate it constantly. The demons with the Dark Law passed their energy into the dome as well to help absorb the attacks, and the rest of the demon sages just continued to pump out their pure fire energy. Outside, 20 white flame beasts were still working together to break down the Empire's army. Every now and then a beast would be destroyed. Technically, it's just a fire law offensive technique combined with life energy. Destroying it isn't that hard, but what is annoying is that when one of the beasts is destroyed, another one would come out from inside the dome, bringing their number back to 20 beasts. What are you doing? Can't you destroy a few scums from the ancestral continent? What the hell is going on here? The leader of this campaign, the level 40 sage, almost went crazy. With every passing minute, many saints and even the sages of the Empire are killed, dispersed, and forced to attack randomly, while the position of the dome and the organization of Robin Burton's forces remains the same since the beginning. Under the attack of 10,000 saints and more than 400 sages, not one of Robin's forces has died till now. Raphael Barnett, take your men and focus the attack on the highest point of the dome. Don't bother with anything else. The leader shouted as a level 39 sage, and that sage moved and drove with him more than 100 sages and 1,000 saints to above the dome. Then the leader looked towards someone else, Samuel Barnett. Remove your men from battle and attack those demons from between the spaces when the dome is torn. Yes, the sage, called Samuel, responded and retreated, taking 100 sages with him away from the battles against the 20 beasts and surrounding the dome from below. All those saints and sages suddenly being pulled off from the battle put more pressure on the rest of the saints and sages of the Empire in the face of the formation of white flame beasts and Robin's space attacks, and the death rates among them rose more and more. As for the top of the dome, the intensity of the fire attacks was so high that it began to summon energy from the rest of its parts to cover the sky only, while below the sages of the Empire began to attack the demons who supplied the dome with energy. The dome was still trying to hold together, taking down a portion of the energy to protect a certain demon and then pulling it back to cover the sky, but even with that, a lot of attacks started pouring down on the demons, bringing them into a horrible shape. Had it not been for the crimson divine shields covering their bodies, many would have already fallen. The level 40 leader laughed when he saw that penetrating the dome was a matter of time. Then he looked toward the center of the dome, behind the curtain of white flames that comes and go every moment. He looked at Robin Burton and shouted, "You are just postponing your death. I have thousands of saints and more than 400 sages. How long do you think your tricks will work? Both number and quality are on my side. Surrender now and I will give you an easy death. Good speech, I will give you the same courtesy and give you this chance as well. Surrender now and I will order for you to be killed first before they eat you. As I have seen, being eaten alive is not the best experience." Robin replied in a low voice, still busy with stabbing his black spear around him like a madman. "Huh? What do you mean?" The level 40 sage furrowed his eyebrows. He was clearly about to kill the 180 demons that were feeding the dome. And when that happens, he will capture Robin alive. And he is threatening him now? Is this boy who haunts the Empire that delusional? At that moment, Robin looked him straight in the eye with a mocking smile. "You'll find the answer on your left." The level 40 sage furrowed his eyebrows even more upon hearing this. His spiritual sense and acute hearing as a top-level sage didn't pick up anything, but out of curiosity he couldn't hold himself from looking to his left. He found many black dots coming from afar, tens of thousands of them. He couldn't determine their strength levels nor see what they are, but he could see clearly how fast they were approaching him, and the fact that they are all flying. The sage quickly understood something and looked down to try to order a reorganization into a defensive position. but found nothing but a devastating mess. Reorganizing all of this would take at least a few minutes, but will those coming enemy reinforcements give them a few minutes? Will Robin Burton and his forces and giant white flame beasts stand silent for a few minutes till he organizes a full defense formation? The level 40 sage finally gave out a breath of cold air, straightened his back, abandoned his fighting stance, and all expressions of anger and enthusiasm disappeared. Commander, what do we do with the left side? The giant white flame beasts are starting to take over there due to the lack of troops. Commander, what is your order? Commander! One of the sages of the Flame Empire shouted out loud, but when he didn't find a response from their leader, he looked around him to look for him. He found their mighty leader hanging in the air with empty eyes and straight features. It seemed as if his life was repeating itself before his eyes. When that sage followed his commander's gaze path and looked toward the horizon, he found faint black dots, far away but fast approaching. Oh my God! It didn't take more than a second for that sage to realize what he was seeing and shouted loudly, "Reinforcements! The enemy has reinforcements coming from the southwest direction." What? All the sages and saints of the Flame Empire began to take a few steps back, leaving a space between them, the dome and the white flame beasts, and looked in that direction. All these enemies? They are tens of thousands. And they are all flying too. All of these are saints, at least. We have to get out of here. No one present from the Flame Empire was stupid. As soon as they saw the black dots on the horizon, they knew it was time to retreat. Even if they have many sages with them and still might not necessarily be defeated, at least a great many of them would be killed. Get out of here? This won't be easy. A cruel smile appeared on Robin's face, and then he raised his hand, and the wind began to blow hard, hitting the living dome, which was made with the power of 180 sage, and it lit up, even more. Then the sages of the Life Legion ordered the dome to change its shape to be like a huge sheet and move quickly. The moment the living flame sheet supported by the Wind Major Heavenly Law moved ahead of all the saints and sages of the Flame Empire who wanted to flee toward the ocean and catch up with their ships, it expanded exponentially, forming a kind of firewall that blocked their way. Tear that wall apart! Everyone started attacking the white wall of flame, but the same scene as before happened. The wall was filled with holes quickly, but no one could pass it. It was quickly repairing itself in the places they were trying to escape from. Damn it! Let's move around it. There's no way that damn wall can stretch to infinity. One of the elders shouted and flew up to full speed. And indeed every saint and sage chose a different direction and started moving there at top speed in devastating chaos. But the fastest of them could not advance more than 200 meters before finding a demon in front of him. Everyone who tried to escape from the sides or above immediately encountered the demon and the Life Legion sages to send them back down. The giant white flame beasts have arrived behind us.
Asterisk boom asterisk.
The 20 monsters also finally caught up with the rest and started attacking the saints in organized formations again. One of the elders from the Flame Empire looked around like a madman. The situation had flipped in an instant. A while ago, they were besieging Robin and those with him, and now in the blink of an eye, they were now surrounded on all sides without leaving any room for escape. At last, one of the sages managed to gather whatever courage left in him and shouted loudly, trying to fill the now empty battlefield commander role. Don't worry, our numbers are still much bigger. We just have to reorganize ourselves and... Boom! A strong roar came from a close distance that made the words of that sage stand in his throat. And then a punch fell into his face that made his teeth go down his throat next to his words. The enemy reinforcements have arrived. Commander, help us. Commander. As for the level 40 sage's commander of the Flame Empire forces, his eyes were roaming around silently watching what was happening without saying a word or moving a finger. Since he saw the black dots coming in the beginning, he anticipated this end. No matter what they did, it was impossible to escape. The leader of the Flame Empire forces looked next to him as he felt a thick killing intent, and found two demons looking at them like hungry dogs looking at the most delicious piece of meat in the world. When the commander of the Flame Empire forces saw this, he looked down toward Robin and spoke, "Is there no other way? Did you give any other way to Jura when you had the advantage?" Robin spoke softly and then looked at the two demons. Soccer, Morin, leave a piece for your brothers. They hadn't tasted a level 40 sage before. The two goblins roared with full force and attacked the commander of the Flame Empire's forces at the same time. Come then, I will show you what it means to be a top-level sage. Finally, some fighting intent appeared in the eyes of the leader of the Flame Empire forces, and pale yellow flames began to fly from all over his body. The fight was much more intense than the two Demon Kings Soccer and Morin expected. After the first quarter of an hour of fighting, Morin received a serious injury that made him retreat, but the end result did not change much. 3 other Demon Kings replaced Morin and attacked the commander of the Flame Empire forces together, in a 4-on-1 battle. After this point there was not much of a room to struggle anymore, and the commander of the Flame Empire forces quickly turned into a meal. And not him alone. Within 1 hour of the reinforcements arriving, the beautiful eastern shore of the central continent had turned a deep red. No, take me a prisoner, I can be useful.
No.
The waters of the eastern shore of the central continent turned deep red with blood, and the sand and rocks were replaced by torn guts and severed limbs. Bodies are scattered everywhere as far as the eye can see, and not just human corpses, crimson corpses with deformed horns strewn all over the shore. The number of slain demons is actually not that far off compared to the number of the Empire's troops. Although the Empire's forces had never entered a real war in their entire lives, they had enough time to train in different martial formations and the basics of martial arts. Although the individual strength was overwhelming on the side of the demons, and even the numbers were in favor of the demons after the reinforcements arrived, the offensive formations and the defense of the Empire's forces, and the meticulous cooperation among them killed the demons by the thousands. But this did not do them much good in the end. None of the saints and sages were left standing on their feet. Everyone who fought was killed, and everyone who tried to escape died or was seriously injured. And now the wounded are being searched for and wiped out. Demons walked around soul-sensing and sniffing anyone who is still breathing from the Empire's forces, and then they deal a fatal blow, cutting off their heads or piercing their hearts. There are only 20 individuals tied to the side as Robin was passing in front of them and holding their heads one by one. Except for those 20 sages, the demons had permission to kill everyone else. Amon, why the delay? You should have arrived at least 10 days ago. If you were late by 1 more day, we might have all been dead by now. Robin spoke angrily while holding Sage's head when a high-level demon sage landed beside him. Amon deeply bowed and spoke, I apologize for the delay. Amon realizes his mistake and waits for punishment. No need for this. I know you will not be late for no reason. What happened? Robin asked again. The sage in Robin's hands began to scream loudly and sob blood. It's the sea beasts. Amon stiffened his back and spoke. They are much more powerful than your excellency expected. On our way we encountered hundreds of them. Not a few of them were at the top of the sage realm as well. We didn't lose any ship, but we had to slow down or even come to a complete stop a few times along the way, and we lost quite a few demons on the way. Of course, your excellency can't be wrong. We think it was the size of the large fleet that drew them towards us and made that change. Jabba then stepped in. It's true, I saw the ships when they arrived. All our ships were partially damaged, and one of them will sink if it receives another attack. They must have suffered a lot in their way here. Robin furrowed his eyebrows slightly and let the last sage slip out of his hand after he died. But the ships of the Flame Empire are worse than ours, and yet all our prisoners have arrived safely, and it doesn't look like one of the Flame Empire ships has been much damaged on the way here? Aha! So this is why I read in the memories of one of the sages that the Flame Empire patrols the ocean between their continent and the central continent every now and then. This must be to kill the sea beasts that approach the surface between the two continents. If this is it. The oceans between the central continent and the continents of the 4 empires are considered relatively safe to navigate due to those permanent patrols, but the ocean around the ancestor continent has been filled with those beasts for tens of thousands of years. It was really a miscalculation by me. I put you in a bad position. I apologize for this. What are you saying, Your Excellency? Even if we jump to hell for you, we'll be happy. You became good with flattering, huh? Forget it. How many sages are in our ranks so far? Robin flicked his hand as if he was holding a trash bag, then asked Amon, looking into his eyes. After the high-quality food Your Excellency has recently provided us, the strength of our entire race has seen an unprecedented rise. Amon bowed and spoke. He was really feeling grateful with all his heart. When we came to this world, there were 520 sages and 100,000 saints among us, but currently we have around 3,000 sages and 200,000 saints. We could not bring them all on the ships and did not want to leave your great family without protection. So I decided to bring only 2,500 sage and 60,000 saints. Good, very good. According to those individuals' memories, we have now killed about 400 sages on the shore. This is in addition to all those we have killed in the ancestral continent. We have eliminated almost a third of the Empire's forces. Half of the numbers of the demon troops you just mentioned will be more than enough. Robin rubbed his chin and looked around. Can any of you tell me what's going on here? All of these are experts from the Flame Empire, right? Amon, you bastard, didn't you say we won't be going to the Flame Empire continent? Billy landed next to Robin and Amon and started asking questions. What are you doing here? Robin asked when he saw Billy, then looked toward Amon, who raised his shoulders in reply. You are going to war because of us. How can I sleep at home and let you do everything on your own? If not for the fact that I knew about it too late, I would have summoned the whole Burton forces to join me. Billy replied in an ounce. All right, make yourself at home, I guess. Amon didn't lie to you, we are now in Central Continent, Robin replied. The Central Continent? Billy holding his eyebrows. Yes, it is a continent that lies between all the other continents in this planet. After the emergence of the first two empires in the East and the West and their agreement to set up mutual activities in the continent between them, the next two emperors avoided occupying this continent as well so as not to anger anyone unnecessarily and gathered around it in their search. And so the Central Continent continued to be the heart of the world and at the same time being severely uninhabited. Robin explained as he saw it in the memories of some sages and saints. Anyway, we were here to set up a prisoner exchange with the Flame Empire, and the exchange has worked brilliantly. Did it really succeed? Billy was astonished and looked around. What part of this massacre is a success? Robin smiled a sweet smile and said, Come after me. Then he flew north. Billy followed him silently and with a look filled with questioning. Then Jabba and Amon flew behind them. The flight of the four. Robin, Billy, Amon, and Jabba continued for a few minutes until Billy finally began to see that there were humans hiding under the trees in the woods in front of them, and he started narrowing his eyes in focus. Caesar, Marcus, Phil, oh my God, even Jana and Sarah are here. We thought you guys were dead. Billy went crazy with joy when he got close enough and the features of a few individuals in front of him finally started to become clear. Since Jura City fell and after every major battle against the forces of the Flame Empire or the forces of the Eight Kingdoms, Billy had to take his forces and withdraw quickly without looking behind them. They literally ran for their life and whoever fall behind, then it's his destiny. Only when they reached a safe place again did they start counting their numbers and considering everyone who wasn't there among the dead. But it turns out that a large part of them was imprisoned. These are his brothers and friends whom he fought alongside for many years. And there are thousands of them here. Uncle Billy. He. It's the general. Everyone smiled when they heard this familiar voice. Some of them started trying to lean on the tree trunks to stand out of respect for Billy and Robin. Even Caesar leaned on Prince Alfred and also stood with difficulty. You all are okay. This is awesome. Billy quickly landed among his men and began to move between them quickly, trying to see as many old faces as possible. I can't imagine the reaction of the rest of the guys when they know you are all alive, haha. Robin rolled his eyes at the overly excited Billy and landed smiling in front of Caesar. The battle is over. You don't have to hide here anymore. Thank you, Father. Our weakness and the fact that we were captured alive is what got you into this situation and made you fight the forces of the Flame Empire. Caesar spoke in a weak voice. Now that we are freed, we all will support you until we take our revenge on the Flame Empire and eliminate all their forces at Jura. Yes, Your Excellency. Please lead us to victory again. It's time to get our Jura back. We will fight to the death. I will not allow myself to be imprisoned ever again. After hearing Caesar's words, The rest of the prisoners began to raise their voices and shout after him. Most of them still couldn't stand still, but they did start declaring their intention to fight again to the death. You guys don't need to concern yourself with this anymore, Jura, no. The entire ancestral continent has already been cleaned up, Robin said with a smile on his face. Ha! What was this? The air suddenly froze and thousands of prisoners stopped shouting, and even breathing, for a moment. Everyone present here was either a member of one of the 4 special legions or a rune master. All of them had high cultivation levels and fairly powerful spirits. Yet the impact of the words on them was extremely severe. The ancestral continent has been cleaned. What do these words mean to me? They were tens of thousands of saints, yet Jura fell. They were tens of thousands of saints, yet they were being chased around like stray dogs everywhere. But Robin had already cleaned the entire ancestral continent without their help. Haha, you heard right, there is no longer any danger to us in the ancestral continent right now. Although Robin used extremely severe methods that need to reflect about, there really is no longer any threat to us in the entire continent. Yeah. Ha ha ha. That's great. Good. Good. Shouts began to rise among everyone again. But this time out of relief. Some of them even sat helplessly in their place, crying. They had already lost all hope in their little cells back in the Flame Empire continent. Quite a number of them already committed suicide, and the rest only kept themselves breathing because they were afraid that the Flame Empire would go out to hunt their brothers and families in full force to replace them. Ever since they arrived at this strange place that they had to travel to by ships and saw their spiritual leader, Robin Burton again, some hope began to light up in their chests, but they were nervous about the outcome of the battle that they hear echoing from afar. And even if they have absolute faith that Robin would win, they still hate to think about how to return to their homes and get it back in their current miserable condition. Only now is their joy complete. Then, can we go back now to Jura? Asked Caesar with a big smile that appeared in his eyes. After all the suffering he and his companions went through, returning home and spending a normal day with 3 meals and a cup of warm drink became a heaven in itself. Of course not. Robin shook his head. I sacrificed many months and came to Central Continent to get you out of the continent of the Flame Empire before I attacked it. I was afraid that if the Flame Empire attacked, they would use you as a hostage to threaten me or just directly kill you and the rest of the prisoners when they know the war is coming to an end to hurt me. Now at last I can continue forward with a clear mind. Central Continent, attacking the Flame Empire continent. Father, do you know the number of sages and saints in the Flame Empire? Do you know about their defensive formations and their impregnable city walls? Did you put our condition in mind when you thought about this? I can't believe I'm going to ask about this, but have you studied this decision well? Don't let your emotions control a decision of this magnitude. We can wait for our revenge. Caesar's mind seemed to be unable to analyze everything he had heard. The Flame Empire simply becoming an enormous barrier in his mind and all the Burtons after what they saw of them. Tisk, don't worry. Your father undoubtedly has forces capable of attacking the Flame Empire and winning, especially after the big feast they are having at the shore right now. Billy spoke in annoyance when he remembered how the demons had rapidly increased their strength during the last year. The demons? The red-horned creatures? What are those anyway? Caesar asked, looking toward Amon. Robin smiled upon hearing this and patted Caesar's shoulder. They are allies, that's all you need to know. Now just rest here, you and the rest of the heroes who were captured with you. I can't send you now to the ancestral continent right now because in your condition you can't stand the battles and collisions against the sea beasts lying between Central Continent and Ancestor Continent. There is a small town near here, which is the eastern gathering point for the observers and the kids of the 4 empires to go rest and resupply. You all will feel comfortable there. Just rest there and don't worry about anything else. I will stay here with you for a few weeks until I make sure that the environment is good for you and until all the unwanted leave the continent. Then I will go on a short trip with the demons. Short trip? Where to? Caesar furrowed his eyebrows upon hearing this. To destroy, of course. A few hours later, in the prison camp, the middle of the Central Continent. Damn it! How long are we going to stay in this situation? Why do I have to sleep on the floor like beggars? I'm a third-class prince for F***CK Sack. You should have listened to my words and started the riot when that bastard left with most of his demon soldiers. There were only 10 demons left to guard and register the attendance. But you all are cowards and refuse to fight. Shut up, who knows where they have gone? They may be sitting on the other side of the valley waiting for us to make a mistake. What are we going to do then? Or maybe he is already too far away and we have a golden chance to escape. Enough already. I waited and stayed alive for months in this situation. I don't want to revolt and get myself killed now. I'll stay where I am. Small conversations like this have been breaking out every now and then for over a week, since Robin gathered the prisoners of the Flame Empire and lead them towards the east with most of his troops. Several small rebellions did indeed initiate after Robin's departure against the remaining 10 demons, but each time the initiator of the rebellion failed to rally the rest of the prisoners to join him, he and his few associates were easily killed by the demons. Almost 7 months have passed since their gathering in this valley. They saw during this period that the demons did not attack them without reason, and that Robin actually allowed them to go out, train, and hunt at their convenience. So why are they trying to escape and risk getting themselves killed after all this period? And forget about all of that, the threat that their ships might have been destroyed or under strong guard has chained their legs even more. What would they do after killing the 10 demons and escaping from the valley when they don't have the means to get out of the continent? Disperse throughout the central continent and pray they wouldn't be found again? Who captured them for the first time is able to capture them again. Look up. It was unknown who gave the shout, but all the prisoners from the sacred tree, wind, and water empires looked up and saw a Draco flying in their direction and approaching quickly, and scrutinizing the one sitting above it. He was the one who shocked them all with his abilities, and the chief of the Crimson Demons, Robin Burton. As for the 10 demons, they assembled in a row and bowed in full before the oncoming Draco and shouted in the language of the Nahari. "We salute our Lord Robin, and we salute General Jabba." Robin nodded at them and then continued flying until he reached a point in front of the prisoners where they could all see him, then took a few steps until he stood on top of the Draco for all to see, and started looking left and right below him, slowly passing his half-dead eyes on each one of the prisoners. Then, he spoke using the secondary sound law. "The hostage exchange with the Flame Empire has been completed successfully. You no longer have to stay here. Your ships have been released. Today you can go back to where you came." "Yes." "Haha, excellent. It's good that the Flame Empire was smart enough and made the exchange happen. It's good that we didn't listen to that bastard and started another rebellion," one of the girls said to her colleagues. "Silence." Robin's voice raised again, catching everyone and dropping their hearts at their feet. Then he continued. "When I said you are leaving today, I mean what I said. Today start collecting your bullshit and look for your hidden friends, those who we couldn't find, and take them and everything with you. Starting today, I'll give you 1 week to gather everything that belongs to your empires and all your men and get out of Central Continent. After a week, I will kill anyone who stays here. Okay? This? Won't you leave?" Robin looked beside his eyes at the person who asked. "Leave to where? This continent is mine now. Go back to training in your yards. You don't seem to benefit a lot from training here anyway." "Eh?" Shock and some anger and frustration swept the 30,000 prisoners at once, but no one dared to say a word. "One more thing," Robin continued. "I want to meet your emperors. They should come to Ancestral Land as soon as possible. That's an order." Do you realize what you are saying? Didn't you do enough?" None of the sages of the Sacred Tree Empire could control himself and his voice. Even without the order, the 3 emperors would be extremely angry when they know about what has been going on here. They are obviously unaware of what Robin is doing, or they would have sent their armies already to the Central Continent. Robin ignored the question and continued as if he hadn't heard it. "Tell them what I tell you. The Flame Empire is finished, and now I will devote myself to dealing with the rest of the powers in my world. No one will be left alone to do what he wishes after today. Tell them that they have 2 choices. Either they come to me peacefully and be obedient, and we will talk more about the details at that time, or they come to me with their armies and then you will all taste the same thing that will happen to the Flame Empire. If this or that does not happen within 1 year from today, I will personally come to make a visit." The prisoners from the empires didn't want to understand anything of what Robin said, and didn't know how to understand his announcement of what will happen to the Flame Empire. But they did understand one thing: this person wasn't joking. 3 months later, the observation tower at the southwest coast of the continent of the Flame Empire. There are ships on the horizon, a saint suddenly shouted, attracting the attention of the rest. Some of the knights and saints left playing cards and the bottles of wine in their hands and came to watch the ships joyfully, while the rest remained lazy, playing and drinking as if they had heard nothing. Guarding the coasts of an imperial continent is one of the most boring jobs in the world. It's the job that all the lazy dream about, and to which those who anger a senior official are exiled. There are dedicated teams that come to kill all the beasts in the area from time to time, and there is no danger of invasion from other nations since the 4 empires respect each other and there is absolutely no need to fight. This place is always quiet and boring to the point of madness. Their only benefit is to help load the ships every once in a while if they contain goods, and perhaps if a stray beast appears, they will delay it until a few sages arrive to kill it. But even these are very rare events. It's our ships. Looks like the ones that left 6 months ago. They must have successfully completed the mission, whatever that was. They were taking many prisoners with them. I think they got them to the central continent to use as living targets. Let's not talk about something we don't fully get or we might get in trouble. The important thing is that today we are going to finally have some movement at the coast. Report to the officials. What are you waiting for? Let's receive them. Guys, I also see flying black dots coming from afar. They must be migratory birds. Don't worry about them. Let's go. Without saying another word, a large number of saints began to fly towards the incoming Flame Empire fleet excitedly. Even some of the knights who could not fly jumped out of their places and went to stand at the edge of the shore to have a clearer view. One of the people at the top of the watchtower yawned before moving the chess piece in front of him forward. Those idiots? Newbies always act like excited little ducklings. They still think they'd rise up ranks if they acted enthusiastically and work well. We are the high-ranking officers, but so what? We are still sitting here drinking and eating all day like pigs. The man in front of him laughed sarcastically before moving the chess piece as well. You are right. My ass is starting to hurt from sitting in this place. The first man scratched his head and spoke. In recent years, a lot of sages and saints have disappeared from the continent. Rumors say they are going to Ancestral Continent. Why don't we look into it and go with them? Another person in the room overheard their conversation and turned quickly. If you succeed, take me with you. Oh, I don't know, Churchill, they haven't said why they have been going there for all these years. That is enough to know that it was a secret mission of the pure-blooded royals only. If we volunteered, we would probably get humiliated or have some pay cuts. What is the problem if we try? The Ancestral Continent is a desolate place that no one cares about. Everyone who went there must now enjoy open killing training among these sheep and loot whatever treasures and minerals they want. Although everyone in the Ancestor Continent is weak and their resources are depleted, I prefer to take that chance than still sit here and dream about it, cried the saint, Churchill, and then looked at someone else standing by the window. What do you think, Mr. Muller? You are the strongest and most experienced of us. Why don't you lead this request for us all? We have served here long enough. Suf, the sage called Muller, took a sip from his drink and then replied a few seconds later. Concentrate on the task we have now, then I'll listen to your words later. The ships are about to approach the harbor. Prepare to help unload them. All right, Churchill stood up and began stretching. Come on, guys, let's finish this off. And you fat bastard. I will win this game for sure when we get back. Ha? In your dreams. Boom. Wah. What happened? St. Churchill and the rest fell to the ground due to the shock of a powerful energy wave. The only sage in the room, Sage Muller, was the only one left standing after getting hit by the shock wave. But even though, he let his cup fall to the ground and opened his eyes to the end. He was physically fine but appeared like he could not move a muscle. The men stood and began to move towards the window and look towards the source of the explosion sound. And the surprise was, the fleet. The fleet is burning. What are those winged beasts flying above the fleet? Did they cause the explosion?
Boom.
For the second time, an intense explosion occurred. But this time, everyone saw the source. A crimson-colored creature with long white hair and long spiral horns standing above a four-winged beast sent a giant white flame ball toward one of the ships, splitting it in half and sending it straight to the seabed. About 400 Dracos started floating around the fleet of the Flame Empire, attacking it at once. All the saints who came joyfully to meet the fleet have turned into corpses, leaving only the ships and those in them waiting to be charred and drowned with no mean to defend themselves whatsoever. 10,000 young men and women began to jump into the water to escape the hell on the ships, but it seemed that they jumped out of the frying pan into the fire. The intense heat from the attacks of the major heavenly law of fire from several high-level demon sages turned the cold ocean water into a huge cooking pot. The water reached boiling point and everyone who fell into it shriveled and died instantly. Devils! Is this the power of a high-level sage? We are under attack. The Flame Empire is under attack. One of the saints finally understood what was going on and looked toward his commander. Mr. Muller, what do we do now? Mr. Muller, escape before they find us. Sage Muller muttered and jumped out of the window, then flew deep into the land, in the opposite direction of what is happening. Damn it! Follow him. We can't do anything with those red devils. Churchill also shouted and flew after him, and the rest of the high-level saints followed him as well. But their joy of escaping did not last long. 10 Draco beasts quit attacking the fleet and quickly headed towards them. The speed of the Draco was frightening and quickly began to reduce the distances between them. What do you want from us? Leave us alone. Go into different directions. Help! About an hour after the Draco Legion's attack, dozens of black metallic ships arrived at the shore of the Flame Empire continent, and their passengers began to descend to the shore one after another. The thing is, for the first time in thousands of years, the ships that anchored near the shore did not look like the ships of the Flame Empire, and the passengers descending from them certainly didn't look like humans. Deep inhale. Oh, I have been waiting for this moment for a whole year. We finally arrived at the Flame Empire continent. Robin spoke and looked around. The next fight will not be easy. Jabba walked up from behind Robin and stood to his right and spoke with furrowed eyebrows. You have seen for yourself how they fight in Central Continent. Whether we win or lose, our losses will still be immense. Lose? There will be no war to lose, but a massacre. Amon assures victory. Amon came when he heard these words of Jabba, stood to Robin's left, and replied. Robin showed a half-smile. Whether it's a tough fight or a one-sided massacre, it's something we have to do and it's inevitable. Begin the preparations. Amon and Jabba nodded, and returned to supervise the docking of the ships and the organization of the landing of the soldiers, leaving Robin slowly looking around. The water that turned red from the abundance of blood is still boiling and evaporating, spreading the stench of blood, and the ocean began to throw out the charred teenage bodies on the shore. The shore was already filled with the bodies of the coast guards. A horrific silence took over the place. The demons are silent as usual, although most of them have learned to speak. They still maintain their quiet nature unless a need arises, some looking for something to eat and some helping to dock the ships. But everything went on without saying a word. Of course, at the side of the Imperial troops, the silence was more apparent. For the dead do not usually speak, and none of them remains alive, not even a single one left for a soul search. Robin could only hear the waves of the sea, so he ignored the rotten smell of blood and closed his eyes, trying to imagine his next step carefully. No. Most of them are kids. Just kids. Go away, you filthy demon. I won't let you eat this girl. A desperate cry suddenly came from Billy, interrupting the prevailing calm. Robin? What's going on here? Did you know that everyone on the ships were kids? Robin opened his eyes and looked toward the source of the voice and spoke. Of course, I held them as hostages before to exchange with Caesar and the others, but the Flame Empire broke the agreement first and attacked us as you saw. I should have sent the Draco fleet and sank them all then and there. However, I was generous enough and allowed them to go back and see their home and even communicate with a few saints from the Flame Empire. With that, I had completed my part of the deal even though they broke it. What's the problem with that? Secondly, the death of these teenagers is only the beginning. No one will be left alive on this continent when I'm done with it. Huh? Do you know what you are saying? I heard that the imperial family of the Flame Empire is estimated between 1 or 2 million members, and they took families from the ancestral continent with them to serve them and work for them, those numbering at least tens of millions. You said that you want to kill everyone? Even servant families. Billy quickly moved toward Robin when he heard his words. Leaving the body of the girl he was protecting exposed to the bites of the demon who had been waiting anxiously. Robin furrowed his eyebrows when he heard this and replied, "Didn't they kill our women and children also when they entered Jura? Didn't they kill the women and children of the families who were living peacefully in our lands? How could this be any different? Are our blood red and theirs golden? It was a war, they killed a large number of us, but they also enslaved many more, and they foxed on Jura and ignored all the other cities and villages in our Ducom. During the past months we have managed to gather about 30,000 members of the Burton family from across the ancestral continent. They are safe now in the capital of the Black Sun. That is how things work. I understand we have to respond and get our revenge tenfolds by crippling their forces so that we can have some peace in the future, but you must at least leave the innocents alive. You must set red lines for yourself. But talking about killing everyone from the imperial family? This is crazy." Bailey spoke quickly, trying to change Robin's mind with all his might, then suddenly looked back when he heard a chewing sound and shouted, "I said F***CK off, you son of a bitch, from the girl's corpse, or I will break your head. Kill all members of the imperial family? Of course, I won't do that." Robin shook his head. "Phew." Billy let out a long exhale when he heard this and put his hand on Robin's shoulder. "Good. I knew there was still good in you." "Good in me? It's done, Billy. No need to talk more about it. I will not only kill the imperial family members but all the servant families as well. I don't in a disturbance in my future. The Flame Empire page will be closed forever after I'm done with it." Robin spoke with heavy killing intent, and then looked at Amon behind Billy. "Are you done? Can we move now?" "At your command at any time." Amon spoke confidently. Behind him tens of thousands of demons were standing in order, all looking at Robin with flames burning in their eyes, anxiously awaiting the signal to advance towards their next big meal. Since coming to this world, their strength witnessed an explosive speed. After every big war, all of them get to eat enough to raise their power. There is no problem if many of them were destined to die, because whoever is left alive will become stronger, and their race has a high productive cycle anyway. Power, glory, serving their benefactor. This war is giving them everything they can hope for. Fight, fight. All of a sudden, all the momentum the demons gathered was shattered by a left-hooked punch from Billy that suddenly landed on Robin's right jaw and knocked him to the ground, their facial features turning from sternness and killing intent to utter astonishment, as if the sky was crashing before their eyes. "Your Excellency! Lord! You are dead!" The likes of Amon, Morin, Soccer, and others began to rush toward Robin. "Stand back! None of you is to touch him." Robin quickly raised his hand and ordered the demons to stop, then turned to Billy with an angry face, ready to stand up and punch him back, but his features straightened out again when he raised his head and found Billy crying heartily, If you want to pass this order, if you want to order your demons to exterminate tens of millions of innocent people, you must do it over my dead body. Have you gone mad? Have you forgotten all they did to Jura City? Has your memory been erased from how they killed our men and captured our women? Did you see the conditions of Caesar and the rest of our special forces and rune masters who were fortunate to be captured? And you yourself, I gave you a few months to catch your breath, and you have already forgotten how they chased you across the ancestral continent for more than a decade? Did you forget your friends who were killed in front of your eyes while fleeing from mountain to mountain like a flock of headless birds? Don't you know that they were the reason my my? Forget it. Robin stood and yelled at Billy until he reached the last sentence and then suddenly stopped, the anger in his eyes turning into weakness for a second. But he didn't stay in this condition for long. He ignored Billy right after and looked behind him. Get ready. The people of this continent have chosen to be our enemies. Today we will... Shut your mouth. I won't allow you to give this order. Before Robin could finish his sentence, Billy leaped forward with his whole body like a spear and knocked Robin to the ground again. Get away from me, you crazy bastard. You think I won't hit you back? Robin tried to push Billy off him without hurting him, but he failed. Amon took a step forward to retain Billy until Robin finished what he wanted to say, but Jabba grabbed his arm before moving forward and shook his head. Amon seemed to understand something and stood in his spot again, gritting his teeth. "I won't let you go until you change your mind or kill me," Billy shouted with tears in his eyes, then continued. "You want me to remember what they did to the family? How can I forget? They were all my responsibility. I still feel their souls choking me to sleep every day. And you have the guts, T.O. Tell me, T.O. remember." Billy raised one of his arms and wiped his tears, then added, "But this was war. Whoever dies will die and whoever is captured will wish that he died. But don't do this to the innocent, Robin. Do not bear this guilt. If you give this command, you will remain sinner for the rest of your life. You will be the worst evildoer the world has ever seen. Wake up, Robin. The path you choose for yourself will be erased forever. The years you spent in that cave will be wasted, and the world you decided to change for the better will turn into a cemetery. You are better than that. You are the hope of this planet. Please don't be his misfortune." Robin punched Billy in the face, threw him aside, then stood looking at him without even trying to dust himself off. "The path that I've chosen for myself? Taking this path destroyed my family, destroyed the ancestral continent through me, and now I'm going to keep destroying everything until I put down some of the fire that is burning inside me." Then he looked up at the sky with eyes brimming with tears. "I wish I hadn't spent any years in the cave. I wish I had gone to those contests and had some slaves and gold as a reward. I only wish that I had died that day without the all-seeing appearing." When Robin mentioned this name, he closed his fist tightly, causing it to bleed a little, but quickly let go and looked at Billy. "This is me now. I'm going to pass the order and that's over. Get used to the new system or go commit suicide on your own. That's up to you." Then Robin turned and began to take heavy steps toward his army of demons, although he could have given the order from his place. He began to inhale and exhale forcefully, but chaotically, although a person of his strength could restore balance to his breathing in the blink of an eye even if he spent the whole day fighting. Even Amon, who declared that he only wanted to receive orders, noticed that Robin was struggling to utter the words or not. He really wanted to intervene and say something, but it seemed as if the words he learned in all languages had escaped his memory. But Amon's inner struggle did not last long. Billy uttered words that forced Robin to stop, and forced everyone to open their eyes to the end of them. Would Mila have agreed to this? Billy shouted. Robin held his place for a moment, partly opening his mouth, then slowly turned his head back to face Billy. "You? What did you say?" "Mila. It seems I was right. She was a good woman." Billy spoke as he wiped the blood from his mouth from Robin's punch. "You don't know what you were talking about," Robin responded forcefully, and then looked angrily at Amon and the rest, all of whom quickly shook their heads to absolve themselves of being the ones who had told Billy. "Hey, you don't need to be angry with them. No one told me anything, but it was clear. You don't care about the damned family, nor do you care about justice as you claim. You only care about Mila and Caesar, and you will not reach this state unless something happens to one of them." Billy stood up and continued. "I know you love her, and I know she's a good woman who didn't deserve anything wrong to happen to her. But whatever happened has happened, and whatever you do now won't bring her back. Please stop. Stop for her. I did this to her, and I will keep doing it for her. You have no right to tell me what she wants or doesn't want. She was my wife. My wife." Robin turned completely and shrieked. Billy didn't get angry nor shocked when Robin screamed at him this way, but had a very sad expression on his face. Only now did his assumptions confirm. Mila is gone. Tears began to flow from his eyes like springs with no sign of stopping. After Robin's departure to the Nahari world, Mila became fully involved in the administration of the Burton family, whether it was the Rune Academy, logistics, auctions, or planning for future directions and strategies. Mila participated in everything, and her role became even greater after the birth of Richard Burton, Robin's only male heir. And Billy, as the chief executive of the family and the actual patriarch who organizes everything personally, was dealing with Mila almost daily. It would not be an exaggeration if it was said that Billy knew Mila and spent more time with her than Robin ever did. But Billy's sipping eyes and saddened expression did not stop him from speaking in a choked voice. If there really was a world where the dead meet, When the day comes and you tell her that you killed tens millions of innocents under her name, do you think she will be happy?